Let me just try to very briefly introduce to what we are. Who is actually F5? I think that quite a lot of you heard about F5. So we are a networking company. We were founded a long time ago, and we actually made something that we are using and what we are actually calling a crazy bet. So we actually bet on something that was used, a proxy. And this is a very interesting word because a proxy is actually somebody who is standing in between and doing a certain task or a certain operation. So when we think about what is actually happening today, why we still think and why we are actually quite confident that the proxy is something that is needed for your sake. Because today when we talk about applications, and applications is something that is actually running our world today, the proxy is I would say add-on that is actually making sure that everything regarding these applications works perfectly. I think some of the predecessors to me were quite technically explaining what are the best of breed solutions, how to address certain things from the networking perspective, but I will try to give you a little bit broader picture. So when we talk about today, and this is just I would say few slides. So we have a product that is called Big IP. It is something that was made quite a long time ago. According to quite a lot of analysts, this is one of the best of breed products that is available on the market. But I want to talk about what actually is required and what is needed today. Today we are subjects of digital economy. And I know that quite a lot of you are actually in charge of running your own IT. So I would say in the last 2 days you were quite a lot bombarded by companies talking about the data center solutions, talking about the networking, talking about what do you need to implement from the security portfolio, networking portfolio, application performance portfolio to make things running. There is quite a lot of legislative that you need to deal about. But what is actually the essence of what you are actually doing today? When we just try to think about digital economy, you are actually trying to do and trying to address just two things. The thing number one, and this is the thing that is never going to go away, is the data. The only thing and the only currency that you are dealing with is the data. You know that there is quite a lot of business models that are actually evolving from the infrastructure that is available today that is just using the data. Think about all the Ubers, think about all the Airbnbs. They don't have anything physical, they just have the data. They know something about the other thing. And the other, I would say, and this is the biggest contributor to the development of IT, is something, and I'm going to surprise you today, is what? What, in your opinion, is the biggest driver of IT development today? Is it the quantum computing, the development of the PC, the security requirements? No. There is just one thing, and it's called what? Somebody mentioned something? So let me, try to enlighten you. It's laziness. So you can think about, okay, what the hell is this guy talking about? What is the laziness doing in the IT world? It's doing everything. Because the laziness is the biggest source of innovation. And innovation is something that is actually creating the things. Because to innovate means to do something in a different way. And this means I need to be lazy. I need to do things in a different way, to address the problems in a different way. And this is what is actually driving the things today. So why is this important for you? Because in the digital economy, the thing that you are exposed to is what? It's an application. This is what is actually handling your data, and this is enabling you to do some tasks. And why we come back to laziness? Because you don't do the things like you were used to. You are not paying the bills by going to the bank. Why? Because you are lazy, you can do it in the application. You are not buying the insurance the way how you were doing it before. Because why? There is an option. There is a right to exercise my laziness to do the things in a different way. And this is actually the biggest contributor to the creativity of the things. But on the other hand, this laziness is putting us in a very competitive position. We need, and we are part of the world where the others are also exploiting the same level of laziness. And this means that they are producing the same or even better applications that we are producing, trying to steal our customers, trying to offer the services in a different way. And this is the way, and this is the world, and this is the economy in which we are actually living. The other interesting thing that I want to challenge you is, what are you actually, as an IT manager, as a person who is in charge for something, actually in charge about? At the moment, nothing. And we come back again to the one thing that you are actually handling, and this is the data. Why? Because there is no data center anymore. There is a big, nice cloud. We are using the services from there. I cannot do anything there. I can rent it, I can buy it, I can use it. It's not mine. And the only thing what I'm putting into this cloud is what? The data that we are talking about, because somebody else is doing the things for us. And again, we come to what? To laziness. Why? We can do it on our own, but why we should do it on our own? Because there is a simple model that somebody else can do it on our behalf. So we come back again to the creativity thing and to the laziness. So this is exposing us to the situation that the only thing that we are in charge about is the data. We need to ensure that this data is available, that this data is secure, and that this data is protected in the best possible way. Because this is the only currency that we are trading in. In 20 years, private data center is going to be a thing of the past. Not in 20 years, 1 or 2 or even less. So what is actually happening is that our infrastructure is now much, much complex than it was before. Before, we were in charge for everything. We can decide which kind of networking we want to implement, which vendor is going to be there. In the cloud, can you mandate the Amazon, or can you mandate to Microsoft that it needs to be a Cisco switch of this kind? No, there is no way. It's there, it's available for your use. You either agree with it or you ask for a different provider, maybe giving you a little bit more flexibility. But you cannot influence on quite a lot of things. So this means that the data and the data applications that you are actually using to propel your business, and you need to be aware that the only way how you can run the business in the future is based on the applications and what you are going to deliver to your customers. Why? Because they have these two things. They have the special characteristics of being lazy. They want to do everything in a much simpler way than it was done before. So when we have the situation that we are actually designing our data center, that the things are happening in a different way, that we are reusing somebody else's infrastructure, then things start to be very, very complicated. Because we cannot control quite a lot of things, but we need to address it. Why? Because we need to protect this data. We said it needs to be available, it needs to be secure, and it needs to be available, and it needs to be delivered fast to any device that somebody wants to use. Today, the most used device from our side is the smartphone. But there is a growing trend. You all heard about Amazon Echo. You all heard about Google Home devices and things like that. So things are moving in a different direction. We are interacting with the voice. There is not even application, or there is a different kind of application that we are interacting with. And why we are doing it? Because again, we are lazy. There is an easy way to do it. And there is an easier way to do it. So when we talk about the complexity that you actually need to address, you need to have something that is going to help you with these kind of things. The complexity on one hand, because you cannot control quite a lot of things, is exposing you. It's exposing your application. It's exposing your business. Because for you, if you are a bank, the mobile banking is the portal to your world. If you are an insurance company, the mobile application is again a portal to your world. If you are a tourist agency, again, the mobile application is the portal to your world. So when you need to deal with a very complex infrastructure, this means that the level of risk connected to this is huge. Because you need to look on what is happening on the network level, what is happening with the services that are actually enabling your application to exist, what is happening with the data encryption. There was quite a challenging presentation from Ramses this morning about what is happening with the security. We need to be secure, but at the same time, we need to be able to control what is flowing with this secure channel. Is this the data that we want to see? Is this misused in some way? But now when it's encrypted, that we need to find a way how to address it in a proper way. Then we need to talk about access. Who has the right to access the data? From where does this right come from? How are we going to control it? How we are going to manage with this multiple cloud infrastructure when nothing is actually owned by us, but we are responsible for it, and all the levels to the application itself. Is the application written in the right way? Has it been verified, checked? How fast can we actually adjust the application if we find out that there is something wrong? There is a nice thing called GDPR asking us to do the things within 72 hours to report everything, which means that we need to be even faster in fixing things. When we talk about the applications, things are not so simple. When you have 10 million customers, you cannot tell them, guys, just press update button and we will fix your problem, It will take time. So there needs to be some smart infrastructure somewhere in the back that can actually happen and that can actually help. And this infrastructure should not be just focused on one thing. It should go and look broadly on everything that you actually need. It needs to address the application. It needs to have the web application firewall. It needs to support the load balancing, which is not so simple load balancing anymore. It can be a multi-cloud load balancing that you can actually employ multiple providers and things like that. It needs to protect your DNS servers, because if somebody takes down your DNS servers, then your application is gone, which means that your business is gone from the internet. Then you need to think about, what about access control? What fine levels of distinguishment between the good guys and the bad guys I can actually get in this kind of infrastructure when the things are used from the different parts of the IT world and from the different cloud providers and with the different levels of visibility. And then we talk about, I would say the most important thing is, how can we convert all of these requirements into something which we are going to call security policy? And how can we also make sure that when we define the certain security policy, that this security policy can actually follow us? If we decide that our application is residing with one cloud provider today, but with a different cloud provider tomorrow, do we need to do everything from the scratch? Or there is an easy way to actually move this somewhere without big interruptions? And this is what I would say, when we talk about the data centers of the future, which are for sure going to be, I would not say cloud-like. It can be cloud-like, cloud-based, whatever cloud adjective you want to use, they need to address three things. One is, everything needs to be fast. It needs to be agile. We need to adjust quite fast. Why? Because the competition is doing the same. I am not the only bank on the market. There is 10, 15, 20 banks. What is going to happen with them? They are going to compete, what level of, what laziness they can address with you. How convenient can you pay your bills? Do I need to enter everything as a kind of a structured form, or there is going to be some AI engine that is going to fill the form when I start typing that I want to pay my sewage bill for this month, or electricity bill. And then it's going to use some logic and analyze, okay, he was paying something like $20 a month or something like that. This is what we need to think about. The another thing is, we are dealing with data, and we will deal only with data in the future. The currency is going to become a data. This is the story about all this blockchain technology and all these bitcoins and however you are going to call them coins. We are again turning only into pure data. There is going to be a regulative which is going to address this. We need to be compliant. We need to reduce the risks. We are going to talk, and we talked about PSD2 today. We talked about GDPR and these kind of things. This is addressing what? The data. Who should be able to reach this data, and how can we protect this data in a best possible way? And then we need to have an architecture which can actually scale, which can be a complex and easy at the same time, and which can support the business processes that we need to address. So how can we actually do it? How can we try to create something that is going to be a solution that is going to be the best of these worlds? First of all, what we need to do is we need to be, I would say, cloud agnostic. We need to have a solution that we can actually take wherever we would like. So we need to think about, how can we connect the policies, how can we connect the availability, security, the load balancing, the DNS protection, make it a kind of a wrapper for the application itself, and then be able to address this. Because not all applications are equal. If you are paying the bills, okay, you need a certain level of assurance that there is not something wrong going to happen there. If you are keeping the money in the bank, then you want to be assured that somebody is not going to be able to steal what? The data about your money, because we don't have any real money anymore. And this is what is happening, You heard a lot of incidents. Somebody stole the information from the crypto wallet, and then the money is gone. What? There is no real currency gone. It's just the data about something is gone. So this is what we need to address. And this is what we need to actually connect to each separate application that we are running. We need to assess the level of risk that the application is possessing. We need to assess the level of attractiveness of this application to somebody to try to misuse this application. And then we need to be able to react in a proper way. But we need a very, I would say, trained and concentrated orchestra of solutions that can address these kind of things. There is no single solution that can be deployed and used anymore. The other thing is, regardless of the infrastructure that we are actually using, we need to provide the same level of, I would say, functionality and comfort to the customer as if we are providing the service from our own data center. Because the customers actually don't care. When you start a Netflix application, do you care from which data center this data is coming to you? No, you just take care about what, 3 things. I want to watch the movie now. I don't want to watch it tomorrow. So when I push play, it needs to play. So this is this thing about availability. For Netflix, okay, it can be stalled for a couple of seconds. But let's go and think about something more drastical. You know, what happens when you have a smart car in a year that is part of some kind of an IoT network that is reporting the accident? So when the airbags are triggered or some deformation in the chassis is detected, and that is automatically notifying the services, like fire, police, and everybody else. When something happens to me, I want it to act immediately. I want to act now. If it acts in 2 hours, I can be in danger because of this. So this is why the availability is the important thing. The other important thing is the security. If we are exchanging any kind of data with anybody, we need to be secure that there is no tampering with it happening with this data. That somebody is not misusing this channel. Because if somebody is misusing this channel, this means that I am transferring $1,000 to my wife, but suddenly she gets a $1 and somebody else gets a $999. We can talk about, security and everything else, but we need to make sure that this is secure. And there is a big threats that are going to go into these directions of security and compromising of the data when they are in transport. So we talked about availability, we talked about security, and then we talked about what important thing, and this is the speed. We are not ready to wait. What is your tolerance threshold when the application or website is opening? So what? We are talking about 2 or 3 seconds. We can have a perfect site, very informative, very nicely looking, very graphical. But if it's loading for 30 seconds, you will not be having any users on this site, unless they are forced to use only this site. If they have the alternative, they will go there. And this is, again, this nice thing about laziness that is driving all of us. We are not prepared to wait anymore. So we need to have the infrastructure that can actually support these kind of solutions where we can address our customers. Because if we are not addressing them, the competition is. Because we are not the only one. Even with the very established industries, look at what happens to taxi. It was highly regulated. There was no way that you could participate on that market unless you get a license. But what is happening now? You go to Uber and you said, I want to use this opportunity because I'm driving now for 50 miles and I want to pick up somebody and share my bill with him, and I can do it. I just opened the app and I said, okay, I'm going to be Uber driver for next 2 hours. There is no way how you can protect your business, and that the legislative is not going to protect it. Because guess what? We are living in a digital world, but everything else, the government, the institutions, are not prepared for it. There is no regulative. What happens with your identity theft in Slovenia? Can you go to the police station and say, somebody stole my identity, somebody is becoming me? Legally, they will say, I'm very sorry, please contact Facebook, please contact somebody where you think that your identity was stolen. But formally, there is no way. There is no form to fill and say somebody stole my identity. And it takes time to resolve this kind of situation. This is why these kind of solutions are very important. And when we talk about what we as a F5 do, then we provide you a framework. We don't provide you with a single solution. We provide you with the ability. We throw a bag of Lego bricks in front of you that are addressing exactly these kind of needs. We are addressing the DDoS story. We are addressing the attacks that are happening on the infrastructure. We are addressing the attacks that are happening on the applications. Because we know that your business is relying on what is available in the digital world. It can be a very complex situation. And for sure, we don't have time to talk about this today. For a lot of solutions, we are just not giving you the product. We are also giving you our expertise. And this is what is important. You don't have any time to be able to address everything on your own. You will need the external expertise to do the things that you are used to doing or that you need to address your customers with the external help. This is where there is a full line of silver line services that we are actually using that we can actually help you. There is a lot of knowledge that we want to share with you to make sure that you achieve these three wonderful things: available, secure, and fast. When we talk about application services, this is exactly what we are actually doing. We are assuring these things. There is a lot of nice letters and nice products that I'm going to talk about, but I just want to make sure that what we are talking about is not something that is rigid, because we understand that you need to have a flexibility. Why? Because you are going to change quite a lot of things that you are doing in your infrastructure. You are going to change the development platform. You are going to change the providers that you are using, like cloud providers. You are going to talk about automation of the things because you don't have a manpower to do some things on your own. And you want to automate quite a lot of things. And this is why we are participating with all the important players on the market, and we are combining and integrating our solutions with them so that you have this flexibility. Because today, maybe you are not thinking about containers, but tomorrow you will be forced to use it because there is going to be some kind of a integration API that the Slovenian government is going to come out and say, okay, if you want to process transaction, you need to send us some information, this here and there. And then suddenly you need to change the framework, the applications, and the things that you are having in place. Some of the regulative today is doing this. And this is what we want to do. And this is what we are not doing alone. This is what we are doing in conjunction with all the major players that we have on the market. From the infrastructure, from the networking perspective, from the cloud providers, from everybody. We are not leaving you alone. And this is the important thing. And we are also doing this together with the integrators. We are very proud that there are companies in Slovenia that are partnering with us that can transfer this knowledge to you, that can help you to do the things in the most flexible way. Why I'm talking about most flexible way? Because again, you are going to exercise your right and you are going to say, okay, I want to be lazy. Why I should do everything on my own? I want to have something provided from the cloud infrastructure. This is what we enable you to do. Because for us, your business is the most important one. And I'm going to share with you who is actually trusting us. So when we talk about the big guys, this is the global numbers, This is something that is trusting F5 at this moment to provide the most flexible infrastructure that can be put in place in order to support your business. Because for us, your business is important. Because unless you don't have any business, we are not going to be on the market also. And this is why we are trusted by all of these guys. An important message also for you is we put you in the focus. Just like you are putting your customer in the focus because your customer needs to be satisfied. Your customer needs to be served in the shortest possible time. Your customers need to get the service when they want it. If I want to pay the bank bill at 2 o'clock in the evening, I can pay the bank bill at 2 o'clock in the evening. Because I am again exercising my wonderful right to be lazy. And this is where we are giving you the best of breed technology. This is something that we were developing for years. This is something that is not newly put on the market. We have a web application firewall solution which is on the market for the last 15 years. We want to share this expertise with you, and we want to shorten your path to the knowledge and shorten your path to addressing the problem in the shortest possible time, because you don't have time. The competition is very fierce. You have companies now starting in the garages, but not only in the US, you have garages also in India, in China, in the region here, in the Baltic countries. Very successful business models that are taking advantage of everything that is available. So don't be afraid. You can be a worldwide star. Your business can be a worldwide star. You need to innovate. You need to address what is important to your customers, and we are just a supportive layer for this. We just want you to support your business to grow. So thank you very much for your attention. I know it took quite a lot of oxygen out of your blood because of the lunch and everything else. So I hope that I managed to transfer the message, and I wanted just to share what is our vision of the future. Not talking about a lot of technical stuff, but just talking about the concept, because the concept is important. From concept, there is an idea. From idea, there is a new business model. So thank you very much.